Hi, good morning all, and welcome to another episode of In Conversation. Today we are talking about work rewired, navigating the skills shift in the AI age. And to talk about it, I have with me the CRO of Prismforce, Mr. Sumit Kulkarni. Welcome, Sumit.
Thank you, Anish. Happy to be here.
Thank you. Thank you for taking the time out and joining us today. I think, before I ask you to introduce yourself, let me just talk about a bit about this topic. So, we have seen the surge of GCCs and the growth that we are seeing in spite of the current situation, geopolitical situations. We are in a good space, right? More than 1750 GCCs with more than 3,000 units here. But I think we are all in the business of talent, right? And the emerging tech, the way it is shaping up the industry is what will probably matter 5 years down the line. So we will have a conversation on that. We have seen some stats like the projected increase of talent in the AI/ML space itself is to be projected at 38%. So, but before we get into that conversation, maybe I'll ask you to introduce yourself and your focus areas.
Absolutely. Anish, I am CRO at Prismforce. So I head the go-to-market globally. My experience, I have about 20 odd years of experience. I started off as a semiconductor design engineer. Later, I was with Deloitte Consulting here in Hyderabad, and I was serving the telecom and tech sectors globally in the US. Worked with a lot of Fortune 500 companies on transforming their businesses. And in the last 10 years, I've been on the SaaS side, building businesses. Right? So I've had the opportunity to work both on the services side and the product side. And here at Prismforce, over the last 4 years, we have been building SaaS for tech businesses or the tech sector to manage their talent and talent supply chains. It's a problem that we had seen through our consulting work that the skills of the talent would be a very critical defining factor going forward. Right? And this was a trend that had been in place well before AI, LLMs. And this was something we had been working towards, that we need to create this new category. And so that's been our thesis. We are now serving 650,000 users globally. We raise money from Sequoia Capital. We are very fast growing. And we see almost any tech business, whether it is IT services, BPO, ER&D, GCCs, are all very interested in solving this problem. And of course, today I hope to shed light on it.
Great.
As we speak.
So you rightly said, it's not just about IT services, not only about GCC, even BPM. They talk about tech-enabled BPM, right? And AI, of course, is at the center of it, but there are many other emerging technologies which also matter and probably will be more in focus in coming years. And so how do you see this emerging tech disrupting the current work models?
That's an interesting question. So I think that practically speaking, we've got a new technology with us, or a new category of technology, which you can compare to the advent of the personal computer. You can compare that to the advent of mobile computing and mobile phones. And if you look back at those kind of technology adoption journeys, you will see that there's this fear in everybody's mind: will AI take away jobs? Right? Did personal computers take away jobs? I don't think so. I think it added the number of jobs. It changed the number of jobs. Similarly, mobile computing as well. Right? AI will be that. AI will be this new technology that everybody will use. Right? The next generation of children who will come in to the workforce, which is very soon, will be AI native.
Yeah.
Right? As the previous generation is digitally native.
Right.
And what we will see is we will see some disruption and change in the near term. So those who have been used to working in the non-AI world will face the challenge of adapting themselves.
Right.
I think all of the new capabilities and technologies, whether it is LLMs, generative AI, agents, AI agents, quantum computing, changes and evolution in blockchain, and changes and evolutions in cybersecurity. all of these, right, will go through their normal progression.
Right.
And they will get better, and they will get easier to use, they will get cheaper. Some of these will interact with each other, and as you know, as yesterday we were having some conversations here at the summit, quantum computing will make AI, LLMs, all of this much cheaper,
Yeah.
right, to use. So I think we will see widespread adoption, and I think that is where we are going. It is just a matter of the mindset that we have to now instill in people to be ready to adapt to this very quickly. The sooner we adapt, the better.
No, I can't agree more. And and we have a vast diversity of the talent, right? Like you mentioned, probably the older generation needs to adapt faster, while the newer generation will be AI ready, right? And probably they will have their own perspectives on this. But this does have a bearing on the way talent strategy and talent forecasting is done. So, what are your thoughts on that, and how are we enabling that?
Okay, that's a great question. I think if you look at the workforces that we have today, we do have to plan for how we are going to get this kind of transformation done, right? How do we transform those already in the workforce? How do we get them to start using AI? How do we get them to start thinking of using AI, not just AI, all of the new technologies? And if you look from a talent management or a talent planning perspective, you can already see that across organizations where they are currently definitely working on AI awareness. They are now trying to put in place. I have some of my clients who I work with are even putting in place measures saying that okay, annual appraisals are now linked to upskilling, right? And so just to link, both the carrot and stick approach, but to link the behavior with outcomes, we are seeing people kind of putting in place measures so that the talent pool realizes that it is important to acquire these skills and adapt. And I think you will see a distribution of people. You'll see some people do it very well and naturally, and that's always the case. There are always early adopters. You will see some people who will do it.
Will be forced to do it.
Will be forced to do it,
Yes.
right? But what can we do from a process and tech perspective? What I'm seeing today is a challenge most people face is that they don't know the skills of their workforce. They don't know the starting point. So if I want to know how are my people doing in terms of adapting to this new technology, and it is important for me to know because I want them to be ready to deal with what's coming, I do need to know their starting points. So baselining on skills has become very important.
Right.
We're seeing that widespread transformation. Some companies are leading it. They've been at it for 4 or 5 years. Others are doing it now more reactively. And then we are seeing that data set being used to take better informed decisions for what the workforce of the future looks like. Right? To your question on what the nature of work itself, nature of work will be AI enabled, AI powered to the point where we stop using this word called AI enabled.
Yeah.
Right.
It becomes a natural.
It becomes the natural way. Everybody uses a computer, everybody uses a mobile phone, everyone uses AI.
Yeah.
Right? So it is a transition that will happen and it will become mainstream.
Yeah. No, you rightly said. Probably 2 or 3 decades back when computer came in, and you mentioned about it, and the way now it's a part of our life. Similarly, probably, and this time the adaptation will be much faster, right? We won't take probably 2 or 3 decades to come to this point. I think probably next 5 years only we'll see the change. But since you're talking about it, why don't you share some use cases that you have come across and which you have worked upon?
Sure. So just to dive deeper into talent management, right, as I see it, and we are personally working on these things. The first step, as I mentioned, is skill baselining, right? And in fact, at Prismforce, we've always been using AI and industry knowledge, right? Both of these are important to help identify what skills are important for the organizations and identify the skills of the employee base. You'd be surprised that most organizations are aware of the skills of their employees. Maybe about only 30% of the employees that they're aware of the skills of, right? The rest of it is probably tribal knowledge that exists in the mind of a manager. Or you know what the skills the person had when they joined you, but you've not kept track of what they've learned and acquired.
Yeah.
So we see now people solving this. So we do AI-based skill discovery to help identify all the skills of the employee base. Then once that is in place in the organizations is when the real kind of action kicks in. We see companies using this to now deploy people onto projects so that you can find the right team to staff onto a project, right? So it's a combination of technical skills, functional expertise, behavioral competencies, and you use that to assemble a team. Right?
Interesting.
We're also seeing people offer personalized career development and learning recommendations because now that you have baselined a person on their skills, you can actually say, okay, where are the gaps? And for those gaps, what kind of learning interventions are needed? You can identify what is expected to get promoted to the next level. And you can, again, provide very transparent, in fact, self-directed feedback to the employee. So the employee researches on their own what position they aspire to go to, and they can see it transparently. If you look traditionally how this has been done, it's been a conversation with the manager, and it's up to the manager's opinion and how aware the manager is of where you are, where you can go in the organization.
Yeah.
Now, with the new workforce, you can and the technology is available, you can actually put the responsibility on the employee to own their career and own their expertise.
Yeah. No, and that's another change that we have all probably seen, that we had a very traditional view of careers, right? And now the next generation comes, they probably don't want to be managers. They want to be a tech expert. They want to do very different things. And that changes the whole game, right? And like you rightly mentioned, there are many aspects to it. But where are those opportunities in, when we see, what are those transformational opportunities that you can see coming in this space?
Sorry, coming in what space?
So, given the scale and complexity, right? Where are the transformation opportunities across the sectors, from a skill perspective?
Okay, that's a very deep foundational question, right? So, see, our talent base, especially in India, is large. The nature of work is changing. Let's accept it. Traditional kind of expectations of careers are just out of the window completely. That's good as well, right? Because given the size of the talent base, it's very important that they are able to explore varied paths, different capabilities, different experiences, and different career opportunities. Within organizations, whether it is again GCCs, BPMs, right, we will see a shift towards more expertise-based work, so deeper knowledge, right? Work that was transactional or lighter in nature will go away. AI will be able to, AI agents, as we are seeing and we are discussing at the conference, AI agents will take over sort of mundane tasks or even more complex tasks, right? They are able to do research already, right? But AI agents still can't provide human interpretation, right? So the human factor remains. It's just that the human now needs to bring in judgment, critical thinking, creativity, the human kind of empathy, compassion, values, right? All of that becomes important. So keeping in mind that these are the capabilities that will be needed, I think we have an opportunity to now innovate and produce more output.
Right.
Or the quality of output, the value of the output goes up. Whether we are doing it in, whether that is done in a engineering setup or an IT setup or a GCC, doesn't matter where, right? In any industry, whether it is in pharmaceuticals, we could probably now explore problems that have been not addressed in the past. Right? In engineering, we could design better. Right? We could also, apply this creativity for sustainability impact, right?
Yep.
With something that we all still need to solve for. So I think that if we can harness human creativity and direct it towards larger, more impactful problems, right? Though that will be the opportunities for transformations, right? So now, if you take that and apply that to the enterprise, right, which has always been business focused, right? Even I think yesterday in the conversations, you would have seen the conversations are still around how innovation,
Yeah.
sustainability, impact, right? So even within the organization, we could probably see new kind of roles emerging, where you take creative people, you give them tools and capabilities, and give them harder problems to solve.
Right. So we at NASCOM are, very closely watching this and trying to create that collaboration, that platform where people can come together and collaborate more. And in that sense, you see, you talked about AI can do things faster, but AI doesn't understand emotions at this point of time. And there are, it just reminded me of a incident, a personal incident. I can't take names, but, just to keep it very short, in a travel, like I was booking a ticket and I had to cancel it for a very personal reason, which and I had no access to a human there, right? So while in one place I could get access to human and get it solved to my satisfaction, but on the other end, because it was just AI at the other end, the chat bot, I was struggling to convey my emotion, or probably it was struggling to understand me, right? So yes, those are situations. While we were talking about earlier, you mentioned about maturity gaps, skill gaps. How do we do a constant monitoring of it, right? And I think that's a very important part. More than that, seeing the proficiency levels going up of someone who started learning AI or a emerging tech now versus 1 year down the line, where do, like you said, right, it's not the manager deciding what you want to do it, it's the person deciding where I want to, how much proficient I want to go and what kind of a shape it will take, right? So are there any tools, something that you are driving or you have, which help measure this proficiency at a regular intervals?
Absolutely. Let me take a minute to talk about what we do. It'll help, inform the rest of the answers. As I mentioned, we started off. We realized the skills would be key, right? So, it's as we look at managing talent, knowing the skills would be the first critical step, foundational information.
Absolutely.
And which is why we, in fact, built a tool we call it IntelliPrism, which is all about knowing the skills of the employee base, keeping it up to date, and we are able to now help organizations have complete visibility into the skills of their employees for like more than 90% of the employees, and it's up to date.
Okay.
That information also includes the baselining on the proficiency or the expertise level, right? And we look at not just one dimension of expertise, we have a multi-dimensional approach to understand what that expertise means, in what context they've learned something. We can also get a sense for their learnability. And using the tech that we do, we are able to do this without necessarily depending on human interventions or human activities.
Okay.
Right? Of course, there's a human in the loop because some information is known to the person, but a lot of it can be done with agents. So, in fact, we've got some of our own agents out there now, and so it's a very classical example of what I was speaking about, where you have an agent plus human combination helping manage this process.
Yeah.
By being able to track skills in nearly real time and keeping it up to date, we see that even the employees, right? We are trying to create a situation where employees take pride in their expertise, right? We want a culture within organizations where employees say that, okay, I stand for this. This is what I'm good at. They volunteer or put their hands up for opportunities. As I mentioned, we can now make the career opportunities or the internal job opportunities visible to everybody transparently, and we want people to put their hands up, right, and say, okay, this is what I want to aspire to, and we want technology to just provide transparent information to them, saying that, okay, here's how you do it. And as people now take on new projects, as they take on new responsibilities, right, helps us create a feedback loop. To say that, okay, this is my starting point, here is what I'm doing, right? And at some periodic frequency, we're able to come back and see what they've learned, how they've improved, right? And this is crucial because today at an organizational level, very few leaders have visibility into the talent base, right? And as you think of planning the business out for the next year, a large part of that planning depends on taking on work based on the capabilities you have.
Right.
And if you've taken on certain kind of project work, you'd also want to plan to make sure you have that ability to do it, to execute. Today it's done by the seat of your pants, right?
Yeah.
So now with all of this information coming in, it enables leaders to be able to plan the business better for the following years.
Yeah.
Right. One of the harder problems that we've been working on is forecasting of skills, right, or talent forecasting. Honestly speaking, it's one of the toughest things to solve for, because you see skills or demand for skills coming in waves, and it's very seasonal and cyclical, and it depends very much on what's happening in the industry. So what we in fact do is we keep an eye on all of the jobs across the industry, whether it is in tech services, GCCs, and startups. Some of these are leading indicators who are early adopters, and we actually look at those guys to give us a view into what could be hot, and then we try and translate that into forecasts for our clients to help them be prepared for what's coming.
Great. No, I think you have a very holistic approach, and what I'd love to continue this conversation, because there are many facets to it that probably in this short time we cannot try to cover everything. But very interesting perspectives you brought. Thank you so much for sharing your perspectives, giving us the time. And in conclusion, what I can definitely say is that skills rewired is the fact, is something that we cannot avoid. How do we make the best use of it? How do we make the best use of the technology that is available to us, the support that is available to us in various forms? I think that will define the next course of growth that comes. Thank you very much. It was lovely having this conversation. Thank you, Sumit.
Thank you, Anish. Pleasure being here.
Thank you.